Hello, this is Dale Matthews, and I'm joined by Mike Jones, and we're prepared. Are you?
Yes, I too have Twinkies.
Yes. Well, yeah, the diminished capacity defense. It's not my fault. It's alcohol. Well, that's not what had you walk into a strip joint. It's not my fault. It's the fault of the people. The people voted the wrong way. The people are foolish. None of thing is our fault.
That's really a obscure reference there on your screen that goes back to San Francisco in the mid '70s and Dan White's defense against shooting the mayor and Harvey Milk. Is that true?
Yeah, they had a
So
they have, instead of a board of commissioners there, they have a board of supervisors. Same
yeah,
thing down
same
there.
same thing. Yeah,
Right. And he used the famous Twinkie defense that the reason
right.
he was
And it
feeling out of
worked.
sorts. Yes. Well,
Only in San
you knew
Francisco.
there was something wrong with that guy. You knew there was something wrong with him. Yes, he deserved punishment, but absolutely, there's no doubt that he had some kind of mental deficiency. Okay. So,
Yeah.
but he blamed
Okay.
it on Twinkies.
Yeah.
Too much sugar in the system.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, and today it would be marijuana or alcohol or strippers. So,
Right.
I have too many strippers in my system. Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
So, Mike and I have talked a lot about the challenges that face us here in Josephine County, especially those that come down from the state level. And one of them that Mike has pointed out several times, and I have too, is our challenge when it comes to the federal government and not living up to the agreement that they made with us, and it's costing us big time. And another one, Mike, what do you think is the other biggest thing that's facing us facing Josephine County on a combination of national and state basis?
Well, and I've mentioned on a number of occasions that it's not that we don't pay enough tax money. It's that how it is spent is incorrect, and we don't have the power to correct that. So when it comes to control of wages and benefits, too much of that is out of our hands. And, they could say, well, these are all contracts that have all been worked out and, there's nothing you can do about them. Well, that nothing that we can do about it really, really hurts us badly. And why must we go down? Why must we go off the cliff because we're not allowed to control expenses? Why don't we have a circumstance similar to bankruptcy where we can discharge that stuff and start over and lend some sort of sanity, some sort of sustainable, I know they love sustainability, some sort of a sustainable cost for government. And we don't have that right now. So essentially the cost of our labor, control over that, and of course the big 2-ton elephant in the room, PERS.
Okay, so I would argue that the commissioners are exercising this all the time because of moral bankruptcy, and they walk away from their obligations on a daily basis.
Yes. Okay.
Okay, so since Mike brought up PERS, that I think is a really good point, because we all know that when Simon Hare was up in Eugene, yes, we're going to be talking a bit about this again, when he was up in Eugene, that he was supposed to be going to a meeting of the Association of ONC Counties. And they're supposed to be out there, supposedly, this is the theory, that they're battling the federal government on our behalf and getting them to obey the contract they have with us. They're not doing that, but that's what they're supposed to do.
Yeah. What's the evidence of that, by the way?
Right. What is the evidence
Know?
of that?
Anybody really tell us?
Anybody.
Here's the email address. Tell us if you know, because I don't know what are they doing for us. And what does it cost us to be a member of that organization?
Right. Now, Simon wasn't there for what these commissioners say was a vital meeting. He was not there because he was in jail. Now, he also missed a meeting that he was signed up for following immediately after that. And guess what that was about?
I have no idea.
Here's the Oregonian article that was in the Eugene Register Guard. Oregon PERS reform, a priority for business leaders at Summit. See, they had
nice.
They had this big state summit that Simon missed where they were going to talk about PERS reform.
Yeah, but this hasn't affected his job at all.
That's what he says. And
Wow.
why could he not be at these things?
Because he was in jail. Yes, that's right.
Yes.
In jail or drunk or excusing himself from the public eye because of the harsh
in a stripper's
scrutiny.
lap, whatever. Yeah.
Yeah,
Not
whatever.
Yes. So that's lovely. Okay. So that's another thing that we've missed out on. Important. This was a state leadership summit. He thinks of himself, or at least used to think of himself as a state leader.
Sure.
Right. Well, less likely now. Less likely. There's been a lot of talk about what's going to happen with him next, but we're going to do a little bit of talking about what we're faced with at the moment. I just can't take this thing over my shoulder anymore. It's just what an awful opportunity to miss to talk about PERS reform, right? Okay, so one of the things,
but just for the record, any organization of government officials that's getting together to talk about PERS reform, I think that just ends up in probably, if I had to guess, at the end of that, PERS would actually probably get more money somehow, and that would be reform, because that's how they do that sort of thing.
You're such a pessimist, Mike Jones.
I don't.
Where are your solutions, sir?
Government has a long track record.
One of the things we get criticized, you guys are telling us the news. Okay. I am tired of hearing the news. Well, don't watch our show. Okay. Or you guys you're critical. Yes. But where are your solutions? Do you ever actually watch the show? I mean, we're constantly offering solutions.
We talk about it all the time.
All the time. So anyway, I'm going to read to you. Whoa, fun. He's going to read to us a letter to the editor. It started off as just an explanation for one of our videos. And then I thought, this would make a pretty good letter to the editor. And I might have been able to read it at the city council meeting last night, except they decided that they were not going to allow anyone to do any statements at all from the public, and that they were going to hog up all the space because that's the best way to control the message, I suppose. I did talk to Jules Rogers. We talked about this story last night over at the Courier, because that was supposed to be in the Courier today. I called her and I said, Jules, there are a lot of factual errors in this article, and some of them were written by you. I like her, but there were factual errors in there. Like, this is like they always say that you should stick to the topic. No, they don't. It's public comment. That people seem confused about what they can say. No, the only reason people are confused is because the mayor keeps changing the rules on them. That people are getting wildly off tangent in what they say. What tangent are you talking about? These are just public comments about whatever you want to say. How can you, like Simon, Cheryl said, you're off the subject. What's the subject? You're off of it. Well, what is that subject you're talking about? I don't know, but sit down.
So your call was well received, and she was eager to hear your criticism.
No, right? She wasn't. But they didn't run the article today, did they?
Interesting.
So anyway, here's what my letter to the editor would be. It has a long blathery title that Kevin Whittison will change to more goofiness from Dale Matthews, whatever he likes. Taxpayers will provide Simon Hare with free chauffeur, free gas, and variety of county-maintained cars. So here's the editorial. Taking the utmost care to avoid criticizing a fellow commissioner in any way, that is what they said now. So I'm trying to be factual in everything that's in here. I'm trying. Keith Eck and Cheryl Walker decided Tuesday that taxpayers will be obligated to provide a county employee and county vehicle to Simon Hare so he can continue representing them at official functions following his DUI arrest and night in jail. Despite his promise to attend Wednesday's final weekly business session of the year, Hare apparently decided to take advantage of the free offer and instead was chauffeured to another meeting. At this time, it is unclear whether Hare will demand reimbursement for the hotel bills or registration fees of the events he missed while incarcerated.
Hmm.
What is clear is that Hare enjoys traveling to political functions all over the state, often missing key local government meetings. From now on, each time Hare says he wants to travel, a county employee may be required to set aside his or her workload in order to act as chauffeur for the commissioner. For Simon Hare's many overnight events, a union employee may have to be paid time and a half or double time salary. Just think about this. In addition to double hotel bills and multiple meal reimbursements.
Nice.
Time off may be requested after returning from these 2 or 3 days on the road, only to be greeted by a backlog in the employee's regular workload. You were about to say something, Mike?
Yeah, I was thinking the other option to that would be that you send like 2 or 3 drivers so that they can never be overclocked or whatever, or too long on the clock.
Many times Simon has said that he drove all day. Well, you can't task a union employee, even arrested one, to drive all day.
Mm.
They're going to have to take a break at some point and stay in a hotel and have a meal and make multiple bathroom stops. But that's Simon's other cross to bear. 2 alternatives immediately come to bear. Assign a vitally needed but non-union department director to escort the commissioner to all the events he finds politically attractive, or require Simon Hare to stay home. If that's the case, he would probably rather resign.
Sounds like a good strategy to me.
Yeah, well, I wonder what would happen if that's what people said to him. So,
yeah, boy. I mean, they've already seemed to have already made the decision about the chauffeur.
yes, they have. Okay, Mike.
Yes.
So one of the things we do here also, besides call up Jules at the Courier and tell her that this article is poorly written, and all I said to her is, listen, if you're going to talk with the mayor and Dan DeYoung, who are going to say all this stuff about how awful it is to face this criticism from people, the very least you might do is also talk to some of the people who are on the other side of the podium, who have been there for years and know what the rules are, because they're not telling you the truth about what the rules are or have ever been. Now, she's not going to know because she's new. Okay, I understand that, but don't write it up like it's gospel just because someone at the government told you to. We've already had a reporter like that. We don't need another one. Don't be tainted by this. Well, they didn't run the article, so I don't know. But the other thing that we found that was, I thought, somewhat hilarious, I think, was the way that KJO's been handling the story. They've actually been writing news stories, but they're just as bad as usual. And here's one of them. I love this. This is the reporter there, the typical one, not the new guy, but this one that's often there for their meetings, and he's the one that's always agreeing with the commissioners and giving them attaboys and pats on the back when they're on the show. And they can't seem to get this right. They were agreeing about what happened that was happy and positive at the Wednesday weekly business session. And one of them is that Trish Myers has been accepted as the interim county clerk. I think that's a real good thing to replace Art Harvey. And so the headline on the KJO story is BCC, Board of County Commissioners, BCC appoints Evans interim county clerk and recorder.
Yes.
Who does it appoint?
Yeah, and the story says nothing about this Evans guy, so I'm not really sure who they're
There's no
about.
Evans. There never has been an Evans, as far as I remember, any time in Josephine County history. I don't know, maybe way back in the 1800s. Who the heck is Evans?
Mm-hmm.
There's your news reporter from KJO. It's nice to know they're getting all the details right. And then the other one is Hare barred from driving on county business, elected to vice president of AOC.
Mm-hmm.
No, Hare was not elected to vice president of AOC. And we're going to hear a fairly hilarious statement from Cheryl Walker taking Mark Seligman to task for not getting the name of the organization right. Well,
Mm-hmm.
just talk to your pals over at KJO, because AOC, the Association of Oregon Counties, is one thing, and ONC,
Is something different.
is something completely different. ONC stands for Oregon and California Railroad, and it's about this agreement that we have with the federal government. So if you're going to be critical of somebody, as we are of the media, and thank God we only make, about 100 mistakes a week, if you're going to be critical, then you should look at yourself. And we do. And if we make a mistake, then we blame it on Twinkies.
Right.
So, Mike, last night Sandy Casanelli got up. No, she didn't. She got up Wednesday, but we played back the tape of that. I thought she did a really good job, and a number of people on our independently placed on the video that's placed without comment have really liked what she said. They thought she did a good job. Mark Seligman was hot that day. Man, his list of things was really good. It's nice to be able to praise Mark Seligman. But you were really good too. No, I said that badly. You were really good. No, that sounds like you're not usual. You were very good, Mike. So
yes, as usual.
Yes, as usual. That's what I'm trying to say. Let's listen to what Mike had to say at the Wednesday Weekly Business Session.
Mike Jones, Grants Pass. The sales tax recently voted down by the citizens of Grants Pass, 80 to 20, essentially. The junk ordinance is 80 to 20. Recent poll, should Simon Hare resign? Over 80, almost 90% to around 20%. If he does not resign, should he be recalled? Well over 80%. So the two previous things that I mentioned that were voted on, those were indications of the government of Grants Pass and Josephine County being out of touch with the voters. I'm imploring you to get back in touch with the voters and follow up by at least a censure. I think there should be some sort of a come to Jesus meeting with Simon Hare and tell him to resign for the good of the county. That's my personal opinion. Thank you.
So review that character's statements.
Well, I hate watching myself speak publicly. I'm not all that great at it, and my cadence is always an issue for me. However, it's clear that I was right about what I was saying. It's funny to watch Pat Fahey over there. And then when I sat back down, Mark Seligman came up behind me. He goes, "What are you talking about? Come to Jesus meeting? What does that mean?" And that just means that's like when you grab your friend and you pull him into a room, and all of a sudden the room is full of all of his friends who are going to have a talk with him about his drug abuse. That's essentially, what that is.
Mark's Jewish. Maybe he doesn't know come to Jesus.
Okay, that explains everything. Yes.
I liked what you said. I thought you delivered it well. But this isn't about delivery. This is about the content of the thing. They were called upon to try to do some kind of censure of their colleague, Simon Hare. Look, a censure is nothing more than Simon Hare sitting there, and Keith Eck is calling people names. He's throwing out racial epithets, really, and he's doing these awful things. And all this is a verbal censure would be, Mr. Chair, I don't think you should do that. That's a censure, okay? And it could be on a piece of paper, but it means it's just symbolic.
Right.
So, we need to talk with legal counsel. You don't need to talk with legal counsel about if the censure has no power of law or anything else. It's just simply writing up, we don't think this is a good thing to do. Doesn't anybody feel that way?
And the letter that they're going to get from the Oregon Ethics Board is going to be will have more weight than any censure coming out of the Board of Commissioners office. They don't even know what it is. They're not even sure that they can do that. This is some of the stuff that they were saying at this BCC meeting the other day.
That's ludicrous.
Yeah, it's goofy.
All right, so then some other guy gets up and starts going on and on. I just want you to notice that when Mike was talking about a poll, he didn't say this is a badcounty.com poll. Well, you can, but it wasn't necessary to do that. And when I get up, I'm not getting up saying, I'm running for office. You had to listen to me. Shut up. Really,
well, the poll that they would have liked to hear about, the one in the Courier, showed just as actually not quite as high, and our poll is less faulty than theirs is. Let's just say that.
Well, less faulty would be it's a very diplomatic way to put it. Theirs is fake and ours is not. Okay,
right,
but I just wanted to point out as a lead-in, as a segue. Not the kind you write on, but the kind that you do on this show often. I'm not getting up and they're saying, look at me, look at me, look at me. But I am trying to give people a little bit of hope, and here's what I had to say.
And by the way, look at Dale.
Dale Matthews, Grants Pass. I come up here every week. And I want to let you know that somebody's got your back. I can't turn around and talk to you when you're in the audience. I can't look up at the camera when you're at home. But I'm here because I want you to know that somebody has your back. Sometimes it might seem like it's impossible to get anything done. And it might seem that I'm up here for publicity or something like that. I got plenty of publicity, thanks. And I came up here even when Simon here cut off all the cameras. Still here, no publicity. It's to let you know that somebody has your back. So it's time for a divorce. You know that it is. ×3. And it's hard to cut yourself off from the past. But when you're abused, when you're called names, racial epithets, lying, cheating, jail. I'm not going to put another tattoo on because 4 little tattoos will bring us to prosperity. I don't think so. It's time to turn your back on the past and to take on new partners, and do something in a completely different way. You know, when rockets leave the Earth's atmosphere, at a certain point, the boosters that took them up to a certain height, you have to jettison those boosters because you're not going to make it all the way up to the moon or Mars by tugging along that dead weight. Even though there may be 3 boosters, you got to let the 3 boosters go. Now's the time to do that. So I just wanted to let you know the good news, even though I can't turn around and look at you, and I'm not permitted to look up in the camera and say anything to you personally, I want you to know somebody has your back. We will work this out. There is a future for all this, and all you have to do is, you know that this now's the time, is finally change your last name, move off into a new future. I'll be there with you. Thank you.
Yeah.
My last name. Wow.
And do this.
Yes.
It's the end of the past.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to doing that. That's for sure. You know what? It's never been more clear that this is not just about Simon Hare. This is all of them. They all got to go. Yeah. And you know what? If this is played correctly, by the end of this year, we may be rid of all of these people. I'm looking forward to it. And maybe
but here's
some
the
of
challenge.
them even sooner.
What here's the challenge, what we don't want to do.
Right.
Please. What we don't want to do is replace 3 bad ones with 3 worse ones.
Yes. You know, listen, we're going to have to dig deep this year different than we have. I mean, listen, it's a national trend to go anti-establishment. I think if you've been watching what's going on in local government, you know what establishment thinking is. They have the same answer for every problem. We need people that are not going to come up with that same answer every single time. And you know what? We need people that are 180 degrees opposed in their thinking to these people that are in there now.
Well, that's why I said the thing about I did get asked by one of the candidates for office, well, what do you mean by tattoos? And I said, listen, if you're married to somebody that thinks getting 4 little tattoos as opposed to 1 big one is going to increase the prosperity of your family, I don't think so. Tattoos aren't going to do it. That's not the only answer. Yeah, well, I know I'm going to get a bigger tattoo. This is not the answer, Cheryl. Okay,
Yeah.
You need to find what we need to do, in my opinion, is just take a little break from tattoos and say, we're not going to go down that path. Let's think of some other way. Some other way? There's no other way. Yeah, we need people who can think of some other way. And this just isn't. I mean, the voters, whether the voters are smart or not, they've decided that's not what they want to do. So let's give some serious consider. There's nothing else. There's no other solutions, you know.
Oh, yeah, there is.
Retire.
Yeah, you know what? The problem is that when they're asking you to come up with a solution, what they're doing is they're saying, come up with some way that we can get money out of people's pockets that they're okay with.
Right.
And that's not what we should be doing here. Listen, do you know, I mean, if we had the ability to control our costs, even some of the ones that we can control could be lessened greatly. I personally believe anybody that tells you that government around here, because of the way things are, can't be cut, please.
Oh, well, let's suppose that you agree with Cheryl Walker, any of you do, that the 135,000, just using one example from the general fund, according to her, $135,000 that they were going to spend on this water ridiculousness, that could go for, she said it, for an additional person on the road. Why would she say this? And a vehicle. Okay. Well, if that's the case, and they once they decided not, well, then why didn't they do it? And that's just one thing. That's just one.
And that's an easy decision to make, but you know, and we can only speculate as to why they're not doing that.
You know why?
Well,
we
yes,
all know why.
Yes, I mean we know why, but in reality, that is a speculation because we can't crawl in behind Cheryl Walker's eyeballs and figure this out. I personally speculate that they have an allegiance to the machine that wants a levy passed, and they want a levy passed so that they can have more money for government, and they have allegiance to that. They can't do anything that takes any power away from the movement towards that goal.
Well, I like the way you started that off. Let's crawl in behind Cheryl Walker as she's looking over the fiscal cliff.
Now, just what are you advocating, Dale Matthews?
It's all figurative, of course. Look,
yes.
Nobody's going to give us any money until they know we're trustworthy with what we have. Right. And so when you're looking at the alternatives of what to do, so far you've got a more taxes candidate, a more taxes candidate, a more taxes candidate, and a no new taxes candidate. Now, you get to choose which one do you want. I want 4 little taxes. I want a tiny tax that's going to get the camel's nose and I want lots of big taxes. You know, really, is this the only, you're going to need to use that, I think, as at least the first point at which you decide which direction you're going to go. And if you get somebody that's leaning in the direction of taxes, why would you do that? As nice as that person may be, don't vote for that person. What's the matter with you?
You know what? And this is an interesting thing. And I'm bringing up Donald Trump here. I'm not bringing up Donald Trump because I'm a Trump guy, because I'm not a Trump guy. But I will tell you what an interesting phenomenon he is. And what is the reason? It's because of political correctness, people have been overlooking an issue that is very, very important to people for years, because they developed this political correctness scenario to make what they're doing acceptable. And they've been doing it for so long that they actually believe that this is the way that it really is. Well, these same people think that a property tax increase is the only way. And how dare you say anything about it? And I've seen people even, like, we'll talk about it, but we're not going to talk about that, in public, because we don't know, maybe somebody's going to look at us and go, well, you're not for public safety, or you don't care about little children. And they try to use that all the time. And it's a public pressure sort of thing. So Donald Trump comes along and says, yeah, I think we ought to close the border. We ought to build a wall and make the Mexicans pay for it. And everybody goes, yeah. So the thing is that if you're not a moron as a candidate, you can tap into what the 80% is screaming at you.
Well, here's the strange part of this meeting on Wednesday. Okay, you've got the commissioners having we're not going to talk about that. We're going to talk about whether we're doing a good job or not. This is talk about off the topic. That's off the topic. Then, in addition, Mike gets up and speaks. Mike's not a candidate for anything. Mark Seligman gets up and speaks. He's a candidate for something. Sandy Casanelli gets up. She's not a candidate for anything. I get up. Yes, we comment on this, and I'm a candidate for something. Where are the other people that are running for office? One of them's got a finger up in the air. Gee, I wonder which way the wind is blowing. Really? You don't have any idea? Another one's completely obsessed with just a one topic thing. Really? I mean, if you're in the audience, especially, and why aren't you there? If you're in the audience, can you not get up and say your opinion? Well, people might criticize. Really? Please don't run for office. If you've got nothing to say about this subject, why are you running for anything?
Yeah, agreed.
We hang it out there every night, every single night. We're surfers on the third wave.
Yeah, you can't see below this level here.
Yeah, well, you're not. Yeah, he's not really hanging out every night. No. But what I'm trying to say is, there's a certain amount of putting it on the line and trying to do what you can to tell people what's going on and giving them some options of things they can do. And you never come up with suggestions. We're always coming up with suggestions. You don't watch the show, apparently. And so here we are. We're giving you some options of things to do. It's difficult for me to do this job and also do that, because it's very much like not having advertising on badcounty.com. I don't want anybody thinking, and Mike and I have talked about this many times, that I'm trying to get people to come to the site just to sell them some widgets. Okay, not trying to do that. Well, now, maybe you're saying this because you're running for office. No, I'm running for office because people are saying, where are your solutions? And since we see and offer so many solutions, put your money where your mouth is. Or I don't have any money, but I mean, what are you actually doing about it? That's the only reason to do this. And it's actually now causing some problems. That's why you're doing it. You've always been looking for reasons why we're doing it. This is now the reason you think, you wanted publicity. No, we got publicity. And now you're trying to, no, we're not. We're simply trying to tell you what's happening. Look, going to encourage you to talk to your neighbors again. Okay, you're not going to march out there and do it immediately, but please talk to your neighbors and the people that watch the show. And would you please ask them, if you're not happy with the way the things are, will you consider not taking a half measure and voting for somebody that will want more taxes, or someone that will obey some of the laws, or someone that's not always going to go to a strip joint? Or would you please consider making a complete turn, doing things really differently? I don't mean radically, but in Josephine County, radical politics is obeying the law.
I'm Dale Matthews, and I approve this message.
Oh, man. It's just, I just got sort of tired of people saying, well, all you do is tell us bad things. Why don't you do something good? Take action. Okay, here's the action. Now, now we're jumping on you for that. Oh, please. Okay. But have you noticed, Mike, how sensitive these candidates are? I mean, You breathed hard, and that means that you don't like what? You're asking me questions about things that I don't want to talk about. But it's you. Yeah, but I don't want people to know. Oh, really? But we don't jump all over that. Way, I'm on the front page and, I don't like being on the front page. Yeah, well, you're just going to have to get used to that. I mean, that kind of thing's going to happen. And the city council, talk about sensitive. Oh, man, we may not allow you to speak at all. Really?
Yeah, you know what, Dale? We may well be responsible.
Oh, well, that's probably true.
For people not being able to speak at the city council.
That's right. That might be true. Yes.
I apologize for whatever part I played in that.
It's not because of what I'm saying at the city council meetings, although that's a factor. It's because the biggest part is here's Dan DeYoung, who may run for county commissioner, and here's Mayor Fowler, who's definitely going to run to be mayor again, and they're saying, well, nobody has any ideas. And then we play back the videotape of everybody having ideas.
Mm-hmm.
And then keep playing them. Well, there are the ideas. Oh, they're not in favor of law enforcement. And it makes them look stupid. You know why? Because those statements were stupid.
Yeah, they were.
They don't like to be made to look stupid. And that's going to affect their re-election campaign.
Right. So listen, I got to tell you something, though.
Yeah.
They're barring the statements at the beginning of the city council meeting, and public comment is not going to help them at all. Because guess what we're going to be inspired to do because you block comment every single time. We're going to roll tape on all of that, and then we're going to play it back, and you're going to get more scrutiny from us than you ever did before. So just
but they called
guys.
They called David Reeves in on this. Their enforcer, the real bad guy. Okay, this guy's bad. And they called him in on this to try to make up some of these new rules. Well, this is the same guy that's making it nearly impossible for us to get good quality video to show to you. They could easily do it. It's their statements. What are they afraid of? But they don't want you to see them. And so that impedes our ability to share anything with you at all. Okay, but we're going to do it anyway, even if we have to say to people, okay, you're going to have to squint, but we think we can just barely make out what it is. You can hear them. Okay, we're going to do that. You're not going to be able to. This is what Simon's plan was the day that he got in trouble. We need to hire somebody that's going to write happy, positive articles about us and pay to get it inserted into the newspaper if we have to. Really? That's astounding. You would pay for advertising space because no one will write a happy article about you?
Well, and in reality, hasn't the city been engaged in that for quite some time? What was this couple $100,000 PR campaign budget that they had? That's the same thing.
And now what they're saying is the same thing that Simon was saying. We have to control the message. White people are just getting up here and saying anything that they want to. Uh-huh. Why, if we have a voter's pamphlet, why people just put in arguments to the contrary? Uh-huh. Well, they come and they call on the radio, call KJO for comments. Okay, there's nobody left over basically that does that. Oh, but they could criticize us. Yeah, that's part of the job. We get it all the time. You guys are going to have to toughen up. I think a couple of these candidates for commissioners are too delicate to run.
This is kind of interesting. You brought up the KJO thing, and it's funny if you listen to the KJO talk show with either the city councilors or the county commissioners, and they get to the top of the hour, and after 10 o'clock, they start taking calls. Well, there's almost always nobody there, maybe one or two sometimes. And I think, but you go to their meetings and there's always a lot more people that get up and talk, but there's only a smattering of people in the audience. So I can't help but imagine how many people are actually listening to KJO during those talk shows. It's probably a pretty small number. And the picture that jumped into my head was on Tuesday night, they showed pictures from Jeb's, it was a watch party. They have these watch parties where they rent out a room and a whole bunch of people come in and watch the debate on a big screen, and you're there to support your candidate. Well, Jeb had a watch party. I think this was in like Miami, somewhere in Florida, and there was literally almost nobody there. There was like 4 people there sitting in this thing. I imagine that is KJO's audience during these talk shows, because They don't talk about anything substantive on there. They are a mouthpiece for local government. And listen, and we're the 80%. They're the 20%, and you're mouthing their line. You do not represent this community.
Yeah, Kjo definitely doesn't. And look, the other thing too is that I did go. We were invited. Mike and I were invited. We're not Republicans. We're not Democrats. We're independents. The real meaning of independent, not like the stupid thing that Art Harvey tried to trick us into, and he did. And then we found out about it. What? You know, I said I wanted to be an independent, not registered in the Independent Party, which is this stupid thing that somebody made up. You want to be independent of parties.
Yeah. Oh, and listen, every time we bring this up, we should mention this for people. It's very, very easy to call down there or to go down to the county recorder's office and change your registration. If you have at some point registered as an independent, go make sure, or call them and make sure that you are independent. That means non-affiliated. You are not affiliated with any parties, as opposed to a member of the Independent Party, which is a far left-wing outfit here in the state of Oregon. So
I made it very clear to him what I was trying to do. And I was surprised that one time he seemed real happy to see me.
Yes.
Because he was tricking me without me understanding. Well, I understand now, and goodbye to you. Okay, so with apologies to the Go-Go's. So I went to that meeting to watch at least the first half of the Republican debate. And when there was a long break, someone said something about Simon Hare. Well, of course, it's going to come up. And I said, oh, by the way, you all know what kind of poll that the Courier does. Well, Mike and I are doing a real poll, and realizing I was in Republican headquarters, I said, now, if you wish to get on there and say your opinion, completely supporting Simon Hare or not, you know, you love him or you hate him, whatever you feel, you could go on and take this poll and we'll report the results. Helen Scott, you may remember Helen Scott, back when all the busloads of environmentalists had shown up. Okay, they get a chance to say their opinion. Okay, Mike and I are environmentalists in various ways. But busloads of people who wanted to shut down large parts of Josephine County and Jackson County and other counties in order to make them safe for rushing rivers and beavers and stuff, and ducks, probably both. There were very few people who got up and said anything dissenting in that room. And there were people in the room from SORA, Southern Oregon Resource Alliance, including Jack Swift, who's head of SORA. And he said nothing, absolutely nothing. He's just sitting there. Now, both he and his wife were there, and anybody could say something. I did. Well, yes. And Jim Frick did. That's what I shared in common with Jim Frick. And there was one other person. Out of all those people, 3 people stood up and said, you know, there may be some other point of view. And all that I said was, maybe we should look at 2 sides of this. And I had a number of people in the room that said, you know, maybe you're right. Maybe we should look at that. And they were not necessarily on them. They certainly weren't SORA people. So I went to the next meeting of SORA. I was invited to come. Hey, you know how to come and say something. And I went to that meeting and I said, and here's what you could have done. Helen Scott's the one that said, we don't need criticism from you. And afterwards, after I left, I was told that Jim Frick said, you know, Helen, yeah, we do, because we should have said something. He did, but we could have said much more. And Jack Swift is like, sitting back there, because he didn't want to say anything in front of, oh, you know, they might criticize me. Really, get over it. You're too sensitive. Helen Scott. So here I am at this meeting. And Helen Scott, and I said, and you could take this poll and you could say good things about Simon Hare. She said, you're not a Republican. I said, no, ma'am. She said, this is Republican headquarters. Yes. I mean, I think I know where I am. And she says, so in this room, you will not be allowed to speak. What? And the other people were looking at her like, what are you saying, Helen? This is a Republican room. You should not speak at all when you're in this room. Is this what the Republican Party has become?
I hope not.
Wow.
And here, now that Dale's finished with that story, I want to just make sure that the record is clear. when people say environmentalists, that conjures pictures of lunatic wackos
No.
chaining themselves to
Yeah.
trees and stuff like that. If I'm an environmentalist of any sort, it's not that sort.
No.
I think that if you're making a mess, you should clean it up. And if you're going to harvest trees, you do it responsibly. But I'm all for cutting trees down, baby.
Gotcha. I do understand you. Okay. And that's what I was trying to say. And I think most people who watch this show understand that. I will say also, to clear the record, that and Tony Webb was there, but of course you're not going to say anything. Just like Simon Hare doesn't say anything when the citizens are being kicked around the room. Easily could have said something, and she's kind of like looking around. What are people saying? What are people saying? What are people saying? If you have integrity, just stand up and say what you think. If you think something, if you have anything to think about, just say. And several people in that room did. Helen, this is wrong. That's not who we are. Well, he's not a Republican. He should not be allowed to speak when he's in this room. Helen, what are you talking about? And apparently several people did say something to her afterwards, like, what's wrong with you, Helen? So that was nice. And a couple of people said, don't leave. Well, I was just getting up to go get some goodies. Well, actually, I never eat anything when I'm at these functions because I'm not a member. And although they're very generous in offering anything, just like going to a city council meeting, if they said, oh, have a free lunch. Yeah, sure, that's going to happen. I'm not going to eat that free lunch. There is no such thing as a free lunch.
You worried about the favor for the Twinkie you might have had, huh?
And no, it's just that when it comes to the city council, why are they offering everybody a lunch that's been paid for by the taxpayers? Bring your own dang lunch in a paper bag.
That I can see. The Republican Party headquarters, though, that stuff's typically brought in by people. And by the way, I'll come and eat your food anytime.
Well, listen, we will have more goodness for you, even though it might be 20 years old. We will have goodness for you tomorrow night. We've got lots more footage to show. Boy, that was a hopping meeting. That Wednesday meeting was hopping. It was full of all kinds of stuff. And some of the people there were full of stuff, too. And we will be sharing that with you. But I'm going to try to keep my my promise to keep this down to 45 minutes or so. And so, that's the end of the show. See you tomorrow night.